I just love the snow. I find it beautiful. In a few hours, the landscape's going to be covered in it. So I'm going to take the next minute or two to shut up and simply enjoy its beauty before I commence with all the talking I'll be doing. So there's the piebald deer I filmed in the summer. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's grown up, it's doing pretty well. I still can't tell if it's a male or female. I feel like it's a female, but you know, I'm just guessing at that. So there's the mother. Again, I'm just guessing that's the mother, even though she looks like a normal deer. But I'm excited to see it. Okay, so this is day 2 of winter storm something. It's 2021, so whatever storm hit us in February 2021 is the storm I'm going back out in. And we're supposed to, they're saying that we haven't even had the worst part yet. Yesterday was just the appetizer. I'm skeptic, but if that's the case, awesome. I've got some good gear. I'm testing it out. I don't really get the opportunity too often, so let's hope for the best.
No, they're deer tracks. They really look like feet for a minute. Like shoes, like boots. But like child's boots. These spruce boughs would be great for a bed or shelter building. And this is a little bit of a natural windbreak also. In Canada, there'd be pussy willows growing in spots like this. Again, I have to try not to get lost because I don't follow the trails, especially when I'm kind of local, because I know eventually I'll find civilization. But the sun will set. It'll get dark in about 2 hours, which means the temperature will drop, and that's also when our second wave will hit. Tell me that doesn't look like an unmarked grave. 6 feet long. It's just as wide as one would be. And there's a depression. And, you know, when people bury bodies or things like that, it's quite common for the body to decompose over time and the soil to settle, and it creates a depression in the ground. Although who would be dumb enough to bury a body on a trail? It's a perfect cover right here. Not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's gonna fly back and hit me in the face. So this is a bit of a decent, is that better? This is a bit of a decent natural windbreak, just a little bit. These are some cedar trees. This is the windward side. All the branches are on this side. And there's a little bit of cover, bit of shade, a little bit of snow and wind protection, just a little. And I'm just gonna rest for a minute so I don't build up my body, my core temperature too much. Because even though I got both jackets open, you know, my little cold weather wool button up and in my winter jacket, I'm still building up heat from walking in the snow, you know, which happens. And I got this hat. This hood really keeps a lot of the core temperature in. You know, the temperature goes up and around, keeps my neck warm and my carotid arteries, you know. So that makes a big difference. And it makes me build up heat, which means I will sweat. And when I sit still like this, that sweat will start to get cold. Or if I get stuck out here overnight, you know, I'll be in a world of hurt because I'll be freezing. It's happened to me before where I camped, you know, 2 weeks and it was 9 degrees below zero. It was freezing. I did not have proper gear for that, or tent or anything. You know, the tent I had was a spring, summer, fall tent, and you know, my gear was kind of mild winter gear. It was rough, right next to the ocean. The ocean actually froze over. And it was funny because about a month before that, I asked the people in the area, Barnegat Bay, New Jersey, you know, does this ocean ever freeze? And they're like, only in years where it's really cold. Go figure, what a coincidence. So I want to be careful of that. I've got these nice Cabela boots on. I've got some acorn socks, you know, and a thin pair beneath those. And then the Cabela winter boots. I've got these snow pants on, which are waterproof, okay? I've got a lightweight pair of thermals. Sorry, tree. Oh, this is not a dead branch. I'm gonna have to fix that later so it doesn't, you know, bleed out trying to hurt itself or heal itself. Anyways, I've got these mild, you know, these winter pants that are waterproof. I've got mild thermals beneath those and a pair of pants over that. And I've got a t-shirt, sort of a thermal shirt on, and then my hat and stuff. And it's nice, it's comfortable, you know, it's 30 degrees right now, I'm thinking, maybe 29, so it's not that cold. It's mildly windy. There are 40-mile-per-hour gusts, or up to 40. Right now, I think the worst I've seen is 20 miles an hour. It's sleet and snow. And the worst apparently is yet to come, but I'm skeptical of that. What I'm not so skeptical about is the odds of me poking my left eye out with this little branch here. So we'll see about that. But I'm just gonna rest for a minute and then I'm gonna explore a little bit more. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to say is I have these MCTI gloves, which are ski gloves. They're not that bad. So far, it's the best pair of gloves I've had for cold weather. Usually, my hand wear, no matter how warm they say it is, my fingertips still wind up numb. And before that, they're in pain with how cold they get. Same with my toes. My toes are a little cold now. That's dangerous because my toes are often kind of numb after my surgery in the summer.
So I have to keep an eye on that. But these gloves aren't bad, MCTIs. They cost me like just under $30.
So I just practiced walking blind from where I was last filming down around here, feeling just kind of going on how I feel, you know, how close to objects I'm feeling based on the sound and just the way it feels when you're next to something. I don't know if you noticed that, but when you're close to a wall or things like that, your body just feels different. And I didn't do bad. I did really good. So right over here is where I found that fawn back in, I don't know, the spring sometime. And right over there, that large down tree you see, is where I filmed those giant ichneumons. This is a characteristic rabbit trail. Now, rabbits and squirrels lead the same trails when they're bounding, but the squirrel would be a little bit closer unless it was going really fast. But the squirrel would also be utilizing these trees because that's what they like to do. They don't feel so comfortable on the ground. They feel more comfortable on trees and branches and logs. Whereas the rabbit will follow what would probably be a deer or groundhog trail out of convenience. Wow. Another 8 inches I would have been in the water, because I know the bank stops right along here. Look at that. Right next to where I went. I could have possibly tumbled forward. That would have ruined my camera. Wow, that was close. But that's location 2 of my ebony jewel wing video. This is where they were dancing and the males were doing a fluttering type aerobatics display to impress the females and establish dominance over the other males. When it's snowing or raining, as I'm walking on trails and down hills and around corners, I don't grab branches like this or, you know, things. I might grab a thick tree trunk like this one here, but I never grab these things because you shake all the snow and water off them and it all goes down your back. Red-tailed hawk calling somewhere. Can't really see too far. Sometimes blue jays will mimic the call of a red-tailed hawk, but that's not what's going on now. They only do that to disturb the other birds, like songbirds and stuff, from bird feeders, either to cause them to abandon their nests so that they can capture the young, or to scatter them so that they could steal the food. So on a day like this, it would only be a red-tailed hawk. Wow, so the deer had come along this ridge line, which is a bit of a drop. That's got to be like 60 feet, at least. This is the stump where I found that mother lode of chicken of the woods. You can still see the remnants of it. But this is some courageous deer. Look how it steps down onto the steep part of the ridge, you know, but they've got sure footing. If I did that, I would surely slip and fall, not to my death, just to a broken arm or leg, or both, possibly even a back. And then, so my best course of action, I guess, would have to be to drag myself that way. And keep in mind, I'd most likely have some broken bones, which means I'd be suffering trauma, which would dehydrate me, and I would go into shock, and that would also cause me to lower my blood pressure and body temperature. So my odds of succumbing to hypothermia would be greatly elevated. So I'd have to drag myself along through all that undergrowth, which I've seen it, you know, in the spring and summer and fall. It's mud with lots of little logs and things to crawl over and through. I'd have to drag myself up that hill, and in that direction, probably a mile, which would be possibly my closest course of action for self-rescue. If I went this way, I'd only have to go about 1/8 of a mile. Unfortunately, I couldn't pull myself up this hill or cliff, you know? So that'd be very difficult. You know, I don't know if I would actually survive the night based on hypothermia and whatever else. God forbid I have internal bleeding or anything. So I wonder if I'd actually make that or not. That's creepy. Well, let's give it a try. Joking, kidding you. I'm not that crazy. So under the snow is some nice, soft, cushy moss. So if I was more careful, I could expose this moss and use it for a little bit of insulation, or at least padding for a bit of a mattress to lay on. If I needed to, I could even use it as a roof or some covering. I'd have this fuzzy side probably facing outwards just because of moisture. If it was drier, I'd face that inside towards my body, and it would trap more air and therefore insulate me quite well. There's a lot of debris and tinder within this hollow stump here. I know that because I've seen it in the summer, and I also put some tinder and kindling and stuff in there throughout the spring in case I ever wind up in an emergency. I do that all the time whenever I'm in parks and forests because you never know. Some places I even have a little bit of food and water stored up inside. So I could pull stuff out of there for insulation, stuff my clothing with it, with the dried leaves to help trap air and body heat. I've done that before, and it helps. You know, a lot of homeless people actually use newspapers and things not only to line their shoes, as I'm sure you're aware, but also to line their clothing. I've used papers and newspapers inside my shirt against my back when I was sitting in a bird blind that I built. For an extended period of time, I was getting so cold and the wind was at my back. The newspaper actually helped. See how easy it is to lose the trail. Things look the same. You think you can see your footprints, but they don't stand out as well as you would think on a day like this. And when it gets dark, it'll be a lot more difficult to see your own trail. It's beautiful though. So these branches would probably help me to create a framework for a bit of a shelter if I needed to. I'd have to break them or saw them, which would build up core temperature, but that also run the risk of sweating. And of course, sitting still with sweaty clothes in the winter can kill you. But I could do that, and I remember passing those spruces a while back. I could always get a whole bunch of those spruce boughs and come back and put them over top for the roof and use some of them for my mattress, because you don't want to just lay on the ground. You know, the ground will suck, you know, several degrees of core temperature right out of your body. So I'm gonna head back to the car. It's gonna take me a little while to get there because I'm not gonna rush. I still want to enjoy this, you know, snow before I get back to you know, my vehicle. But it's beautiful. This would be a good spot to hang out and wait for deer or even coyotes to come and get their evening drink. You can see where the deer drag their toes based on how deep the snow is. So you can tell the snow is at least 8 inches deep based on these hoof dragging. Now, if there was no snow on the ground and you still saw that, that means it would be dragging its hoof just an inch or so off the ground, which means it would be injured. That'd be an injured leg or something. I'm almost at my car now, so one last look before I turn off the camera.